Are you sitting comfortably? Then we'll begin.
10 minutes left. Yeah, but there's still some time. It's not the final score. We need more than the numbers we're given. Show us you live and breathe the game. You're more than a name. That's what we came for. We can bring you more than the score. Every story. Let's take this thing off of the field into the real world, away from the numbers,
Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of There's Still Time, the AFTN Soccer Show, broadcasting on CITR Radio 101.9 FM from the unceded Musqueam Territory at the University of beautiful British Columbia. I'm Michael McCall.
I'm Steve Pander.
I'm Zachary Adam Eisenhower.
And I'm Gideon Hill.
And what a fun-filled show we have for you this evening. I mean, I am buzzing after tonight. I'm wearing red in honour of it as well. So many guys, including Penta, was bust open in the All Out pay-per-view by AEW. And that was the best 4 hours I have spent this weekend, I've got to say. And very much money well spent. But we will talk a little bit, I'm sure, about that as the show goes on. We're also going to talk about the other event that took place on Sunday night, which was Canada going down to the US, a repeat of the War of 1812. This time, though, the honours were even. We'll talk about that in part 3. We've also got a great interview to bring you with interim Whitecaps head coach Vanni Sartini, who is now unbeaten, 2 for 2 from his 2 games in charge. And we'll be talking about that most recent game. A great win, a come-from-behind victory. You know how much I love those. Against Austin FC at Saturday, BC Place. That's all still to come, but it's a weekend show, so you know what that means. We're going to kick it off by opening up Steve Pander's box. Yes, the box of cards that he gave Zach and me as Christmas presents. Amazingly, we still have a lot of cards left to open. I think we'll get through this year. I'm sure the listeners really want us to get through this year. But we'll rattle through these ones tonight. For anyone that doesn't know, Steve gave us a box of 2011 Upper Deck trading cards. We're opening a pack a week. It's the 10th year anniversary of the Whitecaps getting into MLS. I haven't had all my Whitecaps guys out the packs yet. I've had 13 doubles. Zach's had 0. Let's see how this week goes on. Turns out the last pack we opened, I didn't have any doubles. I thought I did, so that's
nice.
a plus. So let's get on with it. Very quickly, we'll rattle through these.
Yeah, some similarities to 2011 to this year too. A fired coach, bringing in somebody.
Well, but then we're playing
Better
well
results
after the
afterwards,
fired coach, yes.
Yeah.
Right, I'll start things off. I've got DC United defender. I don't know who he is. JJ, not Adams, but Julius James.
Oh, he played for Toronto earlier, yeah.
Columbus, yeah.
Oh, yeah, 1 year, 2008.
I have a fullback who will go on my played in Vancouver for a bit page from the LA Galaxy, Sean Franklin.
I've got a couple of Colorado Rapids coming up. I'll do them both together. Midfielder, Jamie Smith. And a guy I didn't like when he played against us, but he's the kind of guy, if we'd had him up front, I would have loved him. Connor Casey.
Oh, yeah.
Part of the Bald Brigade.
Yeah, one of those kind of really robust guys that I love putting it about a bit.
I have a guy who was a midfield forward and should have been good at hold-up play, but I can't remember. It's Chicago Fire's Logan Paz.
Oh.
Followed up by, you want me to do a quick rapid fire?
Yeah, do 2 more.
Goalkeeper who I think is, or was in the league, I think last year. It's, he had some kind of, he lost an organ or something and recovered. It's FC Dallas's Chris Seitz.
Oh, yeah, Chris Seitz.
Oh, well, at least he didn't lose his sight, so that's one thing. We've
Which
got
organ?
I know. We'll have to look that up.
I thought he had a
What order?
bone marrow transplant or something. Anyways, I don't know.
I trust Gideon's knowledge, to be honest, but there we go. Columbus Crew forward, Emilio Renteria. I remember him vaguely.
Kirk is calling this the Chris Pack, I think. I have New England Revolution's Chris Tierney.
Yeah, he's not a revolutionary, otherwise he might have been involved in the Capitol Hill riots, so we don't want to accuse him of that. Talking of the Capitol Hill riots, they were in DC, and I've got a DC United player and a league veteran. It's Dax McCarty.
I have one-time Toronto FC center back, I believe, from Philadelphia Union, Danny Califf.
Well, my last card. He's wearing a different jersey from the team that we all remember him from. If I was to go... Stephen Lenhart.
Nice.
Krusty the Clown himself.
Got two strikers not very many people liked.
My last one, and this keeps me on the all new cards streak, is defender from the Salt Lakers of the Real variety, Robbie Russell.
Oh, interesting. So we rattled through those tonight. No one really super exciting. Dax McCarty, though, is like a legend of MLS. He's one of those kind of veterans. I wouldn't have minded him.
I have that card. I have the card. Oh, your other card was good there at the beginning. Who was your first one? Oh no, what's his name? Bald man. He was
Connor
pretty.
Casey. Yeah.
Yeah, he played in the Bundesliga.
I wouldn't call him a legend. I would call him an ultra legend, maybe. You get ultra clean.
Oh yeah, Connor Casey was with Borussia
in comparison
Dortmund.
to like ultra clean sheet.
He wasn't at Dortmund.
Yeah.
He was at Mainz. Was he?
Well, it says Dortmund on the back of the card.
Huh. I don't remember his time at Dortmund.
I don't even remember he was in Germany, but then I don't follow that lower league football. So anyway, let's get on to a league that's way above that. Major League Soccer. That's what you're all here for. In this first part, we're going to look at the Whitecaps' latest win. How nice is it to say that? 10 in a row, 10 in a row, hello. Yes, another win. We're unstoppable. It's Fortress BC Place. Horrible first half, an inspired second half, and we'll start off with getting Gideon's thoughts on this one. Now, to me, obviously, lots of hyperbole straight off the bat. These are the kind of performances from teams that are playoff bound, finding that fighting spirit when you need it.
And I think the fact that you have a strong bench as well definitely plays into it. And to be fair to Marc Dos Santos, I don't think this result would happen if he was still in charge, given sometimes the planning of substitutions. So I think full credit to Vanni Sartini. But I don't know what was said in the locker room. I don't know if they all sat on the electric chair for 5 minutes and maybe got some charge or something. But
Florian Jungwirth gave us a hint, but I don't want to mark this show.
I didn't want to say that again. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, besides what Florian Jungwirth said and just the way they came out in the second half, you're happy for the team and the way they took onus to the second half right away, and the substitution of David Caicedo really gave them a jump in the game. Yeah.
I'm saving all my expletive episodes for when I speak to Flo later on, because I think there's going to be a few F-bombs dropped in that. But I mean, that's fair to say, Steve. I genuinely think this might not have happened if MDS had been in charge, because Vanni was not afraid to just blow things up, change formations, put people in positions at times. Let's be honest, we were kind of thinking, what the hell is going on? These guys are all over the place. But, I mean, it worked.
Yeah, it was that little extra bit. The thing is, for me, this game was like the more things changed, the more things stayed the same. They still had that horrible first half.
Yeah. They
gave up a goal just going into halftime. They were like 6 seconds away from 45 minutes being without giving up a goal in that first half. Marc Dos Santos would get them going in the second half. They might not. They usually get a draw, or they'll look better, but they wouldn't get over that 2 goals to get the win.
Yeah, he definitely wouldn't have mixed his lineup and stuff.
And those minor. And while it seems like major changes, they're really more minor twerks there that get that extra goal. And I think that's where you see it. Like when you see right back Christian Jahome crossing the ball into the box in an open play, header for Eric Godoy, center back, something's going on in that game.
Well, he was at right wing back, and then he switched to left wing back. And before the goal, he had a horrendous cross with his left foot, but the one he put in for the goal was amazing.
Yeah. So it was like, oh, like where are we? What's going on here?
Well, there was times that I really did not know what formation we were going with and who was where, but I mean, it worked. Obviously, it confused Austin. Yeah, Austin's like, I don't know what we're defending against here. Let's just go with the flow. I mean,
it's like that FIFA 21 FIFA game glitch when you make the substitutions, but you didn't actually put them in those spots, and you have to go back and the starting menu and reorganize everything.
This is why I'm bad at FIFA. I never make subs.
Yeah,
and
that's
why my forward usually ends up playing right back.
Yeah, Steve, you're talking about when you change from like balance to attacking or ultra attacking.
Yeah, exactly. And you don't realize that you forgot you have to change the actual players around.
Yeah.
Well, you can do that in the game. You don't just chase after the ball like a dog in the park. That's what I do. This is where I'm going wrong with FIFA. I obviously need you guys to give me some tips. But I mean, Zach, this is the kind of fight that playoff teams in the past that we've seen. Teams like Seattle, who went from nothing and climbed the table in the later run of the season. And, I mean, let's make no bones about it. This was a must-win game. And the way that the results went and how tight everything is just now, and the number of teams that the Whitecaps can realistically catch, and we'll come to that towards the end, it's probably 3 right now. So there's very little room for error. But when you've shown that fight, that is, I don't want to say what champions are made of because that's getting way ahead, but that is what playoff contenders are made of.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest things that we can take from this 2021 season, I think, as a whole, and even it's continued under Vanni Sartini so far, is that they do not give up, and they keep battling, and they keep fighting. And I think you saw some of that earlier in the year and got them draws and stuff. And I think with the additions of Ryan Gold in particular, and with how I think the changes that you guys have talked about the interim coach has made has given them even more conviction about going out and more confidence, knowing that they can go out and get the win, and not just a draw or whatever. But I think if for those who love the Vancouver Whitecaps, there are a lot of really encouraging signs.
Now, Gideon, that's the glass half full take on things. I would say to the glass half empty could be, these were 2 really bad teams that the Whitecaps have played for different reasons. RSL missing some guys and just looking out of sorts last week. Austin, there was times in that first half that we made Austin look world beaters and that they were like MLS Cup contenders.
Yeah, and I think it was interesting last week, the game against RSL, boils down to 2 new coaches, recently fired coaches replaced by interims. And, I think that game was a bit of a one-off in regards to the scoring, and you weren't sure how RSL was going to set up. But this game, I think the front line of Dominguez and Driussi definitely scared me. There are 2 obviously designated players and Pochettino as well. So there's 3 DPs that, could do some damage, and they definitely, made it look like they were, David Beckham, Robbie Keane, Landon Donovan at one point. So that was definitely concerning. The defending in the first half was far from ideal, but it's Austin at times has looked very poor this year, but they've also had some good results, like beating Portland earlier on 4-1, I think it was, in the year at Q2 Stadium in Texas. So I think RSL
they destroyed Portland in that one.
RSL was definitely an easier game, but I think Austin gave it a little bit more, made it more difficult than it should have been, but full credit to the Caps to get 3 points.
And the thing is, defensively, the Whitecaps were really down to the bare bones in this. Injury, absences, fullbacks in particular, there wasn't a lot to pick from. Ranko had taken a knock during the week. Thankfully, Godoy was good to go, and we'll talk about Godoy a bit later on, but for me, he was immense. The Whitecaps' defence, though, Steve, at times in that first half, they were all over the place. And Austin, they had their chances. You felt it was coming. The goal eventually came from a lovely little chip. Driussi, totally unmarked header. And it's shocking. It's not the first time that we've given up a goal like that. And it's always, we seem to just leave the dangerous guys wide open. Don't know
And the thing
why.
Yeah, and the thing is, you're mentioning Godoy being immense, but Godoy was the guy that let that guy go. It was like he's playing zonal marking in open play defending. Like, what was going on there?
Well,
like,
that was
mark your
something
man.
when we hear from Vanni in the next part. Vanni's very big on zonal marking.
Yeah, but zonal marking, fine, on a corner is fine, but that was open play. You gotta identify where the guys are and mark them, like get closer to them and pinch in. There is zonal marking, but come on, man, you don't just stand in a spot and let other people find their locations to head the ball in with a free header. It was the easiest goal anybody could have got there.
I don't know whether he just felt there was somebody behind that was going to get to it, or whether there's someone going to track the run, or
the
what,
Austin player.
Yes.
The Austin player was and then the other guy behind him, I don't know who, I can't recall who that was. He was basically had somebody behind
Gaspar.
him. Yeah, Gaspar had somebody behind him and in front of him, so he didn't know who to take either. So
Gaspar was dreadful.
Yeah, you're talking about the goal, right?
Yeah.
The goal, yeah.
Okay, yeah. I think we need to talk about Gaspar a little bit.
Yeah.
Because
but I understand Gaspar's like in the video, he's to fault because he doesn't pick up the right guy. But how is he supposed to find out who is he supposed to mark? If he goes for the guy closer to the net, then he's leaving the guy behind him open at the far post. He's in a no man's land at that point because Godoy's not marking anybody in the box.
Yeah, no, I'm not talking just specifically about that play. I'm talking about on the whole, because you're right, Steve.
Let's leave on the whole. Let's talk about that goal though. That's
okay,
where
but on the goal though, also, Gaspar's performance, I think, in the first half is really important because he had one or two clearances, I think, that were helpful or whatever. But he was really poor in that first half. And actually to the goal, the thing that I went back and watched a little bit, if you go back to the beginning of the 44th minute, so when the clock reaches 43, the thing that it's almost 2 minutes before the goal, but the thing that like leads up to it is there's this simple ball that's passed to Gaspar on the wing, and he like takes his eye off it or something and lets it go out into, or hits his foot. He doesn't control it and goes into touch. And from that moment, Austin has possession and they begin to attack. They get a chance. They win a corner. Then the goal comes, I think, off the second phase of the corner. Like the ball gets cleared out and they come back in and score. It was like he started this bad series of phases of play for the Whitecaps that was just like so reckless and so. I know I've heard people say different things about his performance in the game, but it was like seemingly unprofessional. Like it's such a poor level that it was.
When you consider shocking. What you were expecting him to be when he came into the team,
yeah,
and now he's gone way down the pecking order behind Javane Brown, and this was a chance for him to suddenly show, hey, look, I could be one of your fullbacks. Not on that.
Yeah, but the thing is, he's more of an attacking fullback too. But I agree with that. That's a poor play. But you have other teammates that could get you out of that mess as well. And you got Bikel, who I know is not normally a fullback, but he let his man in the open field get right by him, no defending at all, and that's kind of started that run up to the goal as well. So there was a lot of mistakes to go around. And
yeah,
for me, like again, I'm not harping. He scored the goal. He made up for his mistake. But Godoy needs to know somebody's behind him. That's a center back's job, to get in close and make it difficult for somebody to head the ball in.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you there. Did anyone else find it awkward? I was talking about came out of our conversation we were having during the game or before the game. Did anyone find it awkward that they took Bikel out of the middle of the field, someone who's been so influential for them there, instead of putting Gaudino, who I know hasn't, maybe not match fit, been there long, but a natural right back or a natural fullback at right back or left back instead, because
yes,
they were also
because when Bikel's played there, he was excellent in the past.
Yeah, he Bikel played there in LA Galaxy, I think.
We were raving
about last year, and he was incredible.
No, I'm not saying he's bad at right back, but he's been so influential in the middle of the park. Steve, I think to your ongoing discussion about the Whitecaps in MLS, he's been one of those players that has helped. He hasn't been maybe the answer, but he has been one of the biggest contributors of being a midfielder who helps protect the back four. And I think I think that was missing in that first half drastically.
Sure. I mean, they were one down at half time. They'd had one shot in the whole half, whereas Austin had had 7. And that's the 11th time this season they've gone in at half time trailing. And yeah, it's great that they turn it around in the second half, and it makes for great entertainment for the fans and great viewing for the folk at home, and you don't want to turn off because you know what's happening. It doesn't feel sustainable, Gideon, and I don't even know why now. It's like MDS struggled to put his finger on it. It's obviously happening with Vanni as well. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know how they stop it or what's even causing it.
I love watching entertaining games, and more importantly, I love seeing teams win. But if you're playing like that in the first half, like, you're so lucky to get 3 points out at the end of the game. Like, you don't see Seattle or Portland or LA or insert any Eastern Conference great team here like New England play that poor in the first half and still be at the top of the table. Like, they play full 90 minutes, and if they don't play 90 minutes, they lose the game, like, which they only have a few times this season. So to put in perspective, like, if you're playing even a team like Austin or a bottom table team like RSL and you play that way, not every time you're going to win 4-1 and 2-1. Like, there's those off chances where you won't win those games. So I think they're having some tough games coming up here with Portland in the schedule, and I think they play Colorado next week. So yeah, it's concerning considering how bad they're playing in the first half, but able to escape points. So I don't know what the exact reason is, but it's definitely concerning.
And it was the old-fashioned proverbial game of two halves. Second half, I mean, what a team, what performance that they put in that second half. Godoy with a bicycle kick, which was like, wow, that was stunning. That started things off. They were still giving possession away.
That didn't start things off, Michael. You're forgetting to mention your favorite thing.
Oh no, the cross come shot was after.
No.
Somebody getting pulled off at halftime.
Oh,
that
there's
was
so many good things.
That was really what changed the game, I think.
Yes, Caicedo came on at halftime for Gaspar.
Yeah,
and
the formation change.
I mean, do you think he deserved to be pulled off at halftime or just substituted?
Well, whatever the case is, it was a happy ending for the Whitecaps.
It certainly was. Then we got the Godoy bicycle kick. Then we got my other favourite thing, Ryan Gauld, a good old Scottish cross cum shot. And you can't beat those. It would be nice if it hadn't been tipped on at the bar, but still.
The only disappointing part was Godoy's goal not coming 30 seconds earlier.
Yeah, we'd have had our whole bingo card complete.
Yep.
That was on Gauld's right too. Like,
yeah,
if you can shoot like that on his left and his right, like,
yeah,
and anyway,
scores headers that he's never scored.
Yeah.
He scored one header previously, and
that was not a shot. It was a mishit cross, right? Like, no one thinks he actually shot, right?
I don't know.
I thought he was the way that
goalie
was out of the.
Yeah.
Look at his foot and look what he's trying. It's a mishit cross.
It was a cross. Before we get to the goal, let's talk about Brian White. Again, not another great performance from him, but this time he didn't make up for it by scoring. He really should have just passed the hour mark when horrible defending. Austin, that pass back was like suicidal.
Yeah.
And then White pounced on it. Now,
what did you say last week? His feet are like what?
Fire extinguishers.
Right.
Brad Stuver, for me, is one of the MVPs this season for playing on a really bad team. Imagine how bad they would have been if it hadn't been for Brad Stuver this year, because he's been absolutely exceptional. And that double save that he pulled off, the one from White, the follow-up from Gauld, absolutely great stuff. I will admit, when that happened, it did cross my mind off, maybe this isn't going to be our day after all, but White surely should have buried that.
Oh, he needed to. I mean, that's the kind of goal your striker needs to finish. When they get played in by the opposing defender for a clear-cut breakaway, you have to finish those chances. Doesn't matter. I don't care how. I don't care if you chip them. I don't care if you go around them. I don't care if you are clinical with what he was trying to do in terms of, placing a shot past him. You have to score there.
I mean, I don't know if you've used fire extinguishers, but it's tough sometimes to get the hose out. So, I mean, it was tough for him to manage.
It's tough to control when the water's coming out.
definitely. But then the Whitecaps get back level, 70th minute. Controversial if you read some of the Austin timelines on social media, because Beasler was off undergoing concussion protocol, so they were down to 10 men, and the substitution came after the goal, but they were very unhappy that they couldn't get it done before the goal, and the Whitecaps took full advantage. Godoy heading home at a homey cross. I felt the goal was coming, but what a header. And that's centre-back scoring 2 weeks in a row.
There's no mandate on that though, right? In terms of like waiting?
No, that has to get diagnosed off the pitch, is my
Right.
understanding. And so Pro clarified afterwards that he was off going through the assessment, so you can't make the substitution as a concussion protocol until it's been confirmed. And then there was also confusion why the Whitecaps made 4 sub-things windows in the second half. It's because if a concussion protocol is used, and I had totally forgotten this, until as soon as someone reminded me afterwards, I was like, oh yeah, that's right, because we talked about it on the show. But if the other team makes a concussion protocol so that it can't be used for faking purposes, just to use another sub, the opposition, if they want, can make
Get
a
an
sub at
extra
the
window.
same time. So it worked out great all round. But what a good cross to start with Gideon, and a great header from Godoy.
Yeah, it's funny. A couple things, like, I know Vanni Sartini was asked about Dahomey playing right back, and he's like, oh no, he was a right wing back. And on the goal, like, it looked like he was a left winger, like he was so far up. And as Zach mentioned, just a terrible cross a few minutes before, then this time just a perfectly hit cross. And couldn't believe my eyes that Eric Godoy was up the pitch almost seemingly as a striker. So I couldn't believe it was him. I thought it was Brian White getting up, but yeah, full credit. And I think Godoy deserved that. He's obviously been, struck out of luck with injuries this year and out of form.
I think, Michael, I messaged you right after when the really poor cross went in from Dahomey, and I was just like, he should not be playing on the left. And then he put in this beautiful cross. But the thing with Godoy is Godoy gets the ball and he moves up the field, and he sort of plays like, I think, like a 1-2 with Gould, and that's why I think he's like, I'm gonna go. He was like, he decided, okay, Gould's got the ball, I'm gonna go forward because there's going to be a chance here or whatever. But then the play goes all the way out to the left, and he pauses for a moment. And instead of going back and getting, his defensive positioning all sorted out, he just, for whatever reason, just says, I'm going to keep going. And he obviously, makes a nice little run and gets a really, really nice header on a great, great cross. So he wasn't perfect defensively, but really well done to score from Eric Godoy.
I think after that went in, it really did feel like there was only going to be one team that went on to win it. Although Austin, after both the Whitecaps goals, had chances at the other end almost immediately as the defence switched off. But Caicedo had a chip that was cleared basically off the line, not quite on the goal line, and then Dahomey blasted over. But then Caicedo got the winner, 7 minutes to go. A shot by Gould, which Stuver, I think, should have done better with. Just parries it straight into the path of Caicedo. He's not going to miss from there. Tucks it home. 2-1. I think on the basis of the second half play, Gideon, I think it was deserved. But Caicedo just showing that anticipation of what you need to do and be in the right place at the right time, which is what Brian White does. But this time it was Caicedo that finished that. And I think worthy winners in the end, but only just.
Yeah, and I forget who it was wrote the match preview this week. I think it was either you or Jake McGrail, but something was said about Brian White and how he scored 3 goals and, might not be the sexiest of goals, but he scored. And what strikes me in this goal is that he creates it. Like, he's not, a Cavalier type striker where he's always holding up. He's always going to work for the ball. And this time he, gets out of the corner. Gould gets a great shot. Again, Stewart's MLS goal, you expect him to go and grab that one, not parry it right into the path. And again, Austin shambles defensively dealing with the rebound. But yeah, full credit to Caicedo, who really changed the game, like, coming on in the second half. I don't think anyone disagrees with me saying that, with Caicedo just coming on and being exceptional. So
yeah, I think he was definitely one of the game changers. Do you feel it's a worthy win in the end, Steve?
Yeah, I think they deserved it. Like, you got to play who is in front of you. It's I'm getting kind of tired. Like, RSL, sure, they're missing players, but Whitecaps are missing players too. on that game.
Oh yeah, I mean we were certainly down
So
to a bare bones defense for that.
and even this game, like like MLS. Anybody, honestly, there's very few times where like there's a clear favorite in a game. Like in this season, maybe you got New England, Seattle, and Kansas City. Other than that, it's almost been anybody can win on any given day. And
Apart from maybe FC Cincinnati.
yeah, or like there are exceptions. Inter Miami maybe too.
Oh, they're
but
doing well, your boys.
Yeah.
Sorry, they beat Cincinnati.
Yeah.
but overall, like this is you got to play who's in front of you. Like, and this time it was an Austin team that has moments in the past year, but obviously in this game they at times they look good, at times they didn't, and Vancouver was able to take advantage of that.
Yeah. Well, that is our thoughts on the game. Let's just hear a little bit now from the gaffer, Vanni Sartini, just with some of his post-game thoughts. First of all, congratulations on the win, but also it very much a game of two halves. Not for the first time this season, very flat first half performance, but what a performance in the second half, coming out, amazing intensity, lots of energy, and it felt like they were the only team that was going to get the win in the end.
Yeah, it's true. You're totally right. I think that in the first half they outplayed us, and in the second half we did it to them. We made a couple of adjustments tactically because our press in the first half wasn't good. So that's the reason why that we couldn't win the ball, and they had possession for a lot, and they are a team that they want to have the ball a lot, and they exploit these gaps when the other team is not very well organized. We make those adjustments, and the guys in the second half were flying, and I think we deserved the win. At the end, we had much more chance than them in total.
Just talking about the adjustments, it was, some of them seemed a little strange. Some guys maybe playing not in their familiar positions. But I mean, obviously it worked. It has felt a while since we've kind of had that kind of dynamic ability to change things up in the middle of the game. Is this just something that you like to do?
Well, no, I don't like it to do, because it means that we're down in the score. So it's better that if we're winning, because but when it's necessary to do it, we need to do it. And the way that we wanted to play, well, we weren't playing the way that we wanted to play in the first half. And so we needed to keep it, I would say, easier for the player, and to have the starting position in a different way, and luckily went well.
Just to further that, to Michael there, did my eyes deceive me, or was Christian Dahomey playing it right back to start the second half?
Was actually right wing back. The idea was to go to kind of a back three with Eric, Michael Baldissimo, and Florian on the left, with Michael starting a little like 5 meters higher, and Christian and Janio at the beginning as a wingback, and then Christian played basically the second half as a wingback the entire half. Like I don't remember when we make the change to put Pat in, but he played like the first 50 minutes on the right and the last 30 minutes on the left. Of course, it's an emergency situation because Christian is such a gifted player up front that we like him. If I'm not mistaken, he's our top goal scorer, so we like him to be close to the goal, but when it's needed, he has also a big heart, and so he can make that role to be up and down on the side.
Also, further to Michael's question there, Eric Godoy's goal, it seemed like it was something that was coming. There was a lot of momentum there, and I guess it also helped that Austin only had 10 men on the field at that time.
Yeah, I don't know, probably, yeah, of course helped, but if I have to be honest, even when they were 11, yeah, we killed them in the second half. So probably we exploited the situation there when they were 10. But we had, even before, we had the Ryan hit the bar, and after that, good save by the goalkeepers. One guy that took off the ball from the line. Daho having another big chance and putting the ball over the bar. So I think in the second half we really outplayed them, and 10 men or 11 men we deserve to win.
He's the gaffer. You can't try it on with him. He's the gaffer. Even when he's on a limb. He's the gaffer. When his back's against the wall, has the answer to it all. He's the gaffer.
Vanni Sartini there, just talking a little bit after that 2-1 win for the Whitecaps over Austin that made it 10 games unbeaten in MLS. Now, I mean, we've talked about a few of the players. Apart from that maybe blip for the goal from Godoy, I thought he was tremendous. He was my man of the match. Second half performance from him at both ends of the pitch I thought was great. But Jungwirth impressed as well. The two of them together. I was a bit wary because he'd formed a good partnership with Ranko last week, Zach, and I thought, oh, Godoy's just coming in, take a little bit of time to get the chemistry. The two of them looked so solid together. And then when Ranko came on to give him those three centre-backs, that looks a very exciting option going forward as well.
Yeah, I too was a little bit concerned about how that would play out. And again, I also thought Godoy might have been a better choice for right back. I think in the first half, as awful as the performance was, I think the standout moments for me were a block each, one from Flo and one from Eric. And then yeah, I think there's some positive things happening there. Also later in the game, speaking of Renko, he made this really nice precise long ball over the top for Caicedo to get onto that.
Yes.
Should have been or could have been a goal if it wasn't cleared off the line off a nice little lob from Caicedo. And so I think there's some encouraging signs again coming out of the center of the park at the back, especially if they can stay healthy.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be the thing in this big push now. One of the disappointing things for me, Gideon, though, the midfield, it did feel a little bit missing in action, especially in that first half. They just weren't there. There was times when there was a quick counter for the Whitecaps, and the Whitecaps had three guys going forward, but there was 7 guys still in the Whitecaps half. There was just very little support from the midfield getting up there. That they need to remedy that somehow. I know what players they want on the pitch, and that limits your midfield options maybe a little bit, but they've got to try and find a way. And I still think, obviously losing Kyle, we maybe didn't see him at his best this season, but he was the kind of guy that you want in there. What do you think the solution is to try and get this midfield to be more dynamic?
I think having, as Zach mentioned, Bikel in there really, really adds a lot, and not just defensively, but offensively. We've seen, he's able to score goals like he did late on against LA and Salt Lake, and the way he distributes the ball. I think having him there definitely changes the game. And you're right, like they did sit back a lot, and it was disappointing because you want to have as many players forward as you can, but they didn't want to commit too many forward and leave the back, so open. So there's not one player or fix I think you can do. I think you have to, change play players comfortably where they are, like Bikel and midfield, and that'll allow whoever, Nowinski, Brown, Gaspar at right back, not Gaspar, but Nowinski and Brown anyway. So there's not one fix you can make. I just think Bikel and Baldissimo really do change the game when they're in there together. And I think it was nice to see Jingles on the pitch before Christmas. So,
I mean, Steve, do you think a 3-5-2 might be the answer to that? Like if you've got Ranko, Flo and Eric as your back three, and then 2 wing backs, Gold kind of in an advanced position, Jingles, Bikel, Dahomey, and hopefully Cava up front?
I'm okay with either one. I think they can go 4 at the back. They can go 3 at the back. The main issue is having the right midfielders. Having Bikel in there allows other midfielders to take more chances and move forward, and because he's a good protector of the back line. So if you're going to have 4 at the back, just stick Bikel in there. If you have 3 at the back, then you might not need him on the pitch as much, and then you could put more advancing midfielders like Baldissimo and Gold and somebody else like Owusu. So it's just a matter of what they decide to do at the back. The thing is with Jungwirth as well is that he can play like a midfield role. He can play the big Kel role in if you decide to go 4 at the back as well. So you do have options there either way.
Let's move on with something else that made us kind of happy over the result of this. The Whitecaps were briefly in a playoff place again. That's 2 weeks in a row that they've toyed with finishing the weekend in the playoff spots, but they finished just outside. I mean, it's a huge win, as we said. You look at the other results from the Western teams. Portland beat Houston on Friday night very comfortably 2-0. Houston were dreadful. LAFC destroyed Sporting Kansas City. Peter Vermees wasn't happy with a red card for Espinoza. He feels he's being profiled by MLS referees, was his exact wording afterwards. But KC were terrible in that. LAFC deserved winners. RSL 3, Dallas 2. Fantastic match. And RSL had been behind in that and things were looking good. And a draw would have been nice there. But RSL got the win when they needed it. They had Krylatch back, so that helped.
But there was no Pepe, right? There was no Pepe for
he's
for Dallas. That's pretty huge for them.
Yeah. Colorado ended up beating San Jose 1-0, so that was good for the Whitecaps in the end as well. And the Caps finished the weekend 8th in the standings, 1 spot outside the playoff picture, 1 point back of 6th place Portland, who they play this coming Friday, and 7th placed RSL. Minnesota are just another point ahead in 5th. LAFC, they're ominously hovering 2 points behind Vancouver in 9th. So the room for error right now is basically nil. So you've got to get these points in the bag at home. We'll just finish this part off. Just Portland's next up on Friday. It's Cascadia Cup game, Gideon. Portland's in yo-yo form just now. And they had been struggling, but then they went to Seattle and got that win on the road. They went to Houston and got that win on the road. Can they come to Vancouver and get that win on the road on Friday?
I think they'll be confident. I know they won't have their full-fledged fans as they normally do, which usually gives them a boost in Vancouver. So I think they're a fun team to watch, and I think they'll definitely cause Vancouver some problems. And I wouldn't be shocked if they took a point away, maybe even 3 from Vancouver on Friday's game.
It's gonna be hard to know what to expect because you don't know where each team is. Like Portland, they've like you said they've had their ups and downs this year. With the Whitecaps, we don't know who's gonna be healthy enough for Friday.
Yeah, there's that as well. Because it's like, will Javane be good to come back from Jamaica and slot
or
in?
Max?
Well, I mean,
Max and Lucas.
I mean, Hassal's fine as well because it's like Vanni said to him, they're both number 1 goalkeepers. I would prefer Max in there.
Yeah, Max is going to be ready to go. He's not going to be starting in the 3rd game. So
I don't know because Boyan did have a little bit of a groin. I was going to say tear or pull or tweak or something today. So I mean, you don't know how that might play out. I thought Max might get this. No, he wasn't. I thought Max might get this 3rd game, but
I think so too. Herdman does seem to favor. Yeah, I think Herdman obviously loves to, not obviously, but he really likes to shuffle the team as he did today, and he wasn't scared of their opponents. So
goalkeepers, they don't shuffle as much.
I was always going to say goalkeepers is an easy position. You could play every single day for the amount of work you do.
I think Boyan only gets taken out if he's not.
If that groin gets harder.
Cava should hopefully be good to go.
Is he in full training with them and stuff?
He was before. He flew down on the Thursday morning of the match against Honduras, and he had been in full training the day before up at UBC with the Whitecaps.
To me, it doesn't make sense that he would start. Like, he is not match fit. Like, he's been out for so long. It would seem crazy to start him. I could see him on the bench and having an impact in the game, but I think it would be really strange to start a player in that way. But Crépeau, I think if Max is available, I think he starts.
He's
Javane for me is the big guy that you want to hopefully be able to be good to go right away, and I think he should be able to.
I hope his confidence isn't smashed like they got smashed.
Yes, he did not come on in this one.
Oh, that's why they lost.
Yeah, but maybe they'll make changes now for the next game because of that. I guess we'll have to wait and see. I would take a draw from this if we can get up to 11 unbeaten. Take a 1-0 draw, 2-0 draw, that'd be fine. Win obviously would be ideal, but a draw keeps us still in there or thereabouts in a tough game. And the week after against Colorado is going to be a particularly tough one away from home. So we've got to take something from all the home games. It's basically what it boils down to now.
I'm going to give it 3-2 to Vancouver.
I'll go with 1-1 just to do that.
I'll go 2-0.
1-1.
Same as me. Well, that is it for this part. That is it for the Whitecaps Austin chat, but it's not quite it for our chat about the Whitecaps, because we've got our feature interview coming up next with Whitecaps interim head coach Vanni Sartini, and we'll be back with that after this.
Hi, I'm Vanni Sartini, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And kicking off this part, it's a song from an Italian band called They Die, from their 2021 album Deviant Love. They're a post-punk goth band from Italy, and I've played that in honour of new interim Whitecaps head coach Vanni Sartini. He's from Florence, they're from the south of Italy, but this was a band I kind of stumbled across about 4 to 6 weeks ago now, all thanks to YouTube's algorithms and recommendations. I do plan to feature them as an Artist of the Month somewhere down the line as well. Their sound is the sound that I love. It's old school goth, lots of post-punk synthesizers, that kind of Sisters of Mercy, Mission kind of sound. Love it. Hope you do too. That was a song called That Flame Goes Out. But I'll tell you what flame hasn't gone out, and that's the Whitecaps playoff flame. It's still very much alive and flickering after that much needed win over Austin on Saturday afternoon at BC Place. We covered that match in the first part of the show. For this part though, I want to bring you our feature interview for this episode. And I got a chance to sit down with the man himself, Vanni Sartini, just to chat about his history and background in football, his philosophy in coaching, and a lot more beside. So go grab a hot beverage of choice and your favourite biscuit, sit back and enjoy our chat with Whitecaps interim head coach, Vanni Sartini. So, delighted now to be joined by the Whitecaps Director of Methodology and current first team head coach, Vanni Sartini. Welcome to the show, Vanni.
Oh, well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be with you, Mike.
And I thought just to make you feel at home, I dug out one of my football tops. It's for an English team, Jersey Bulls. They're an English non-league team. So that it's Kappa. So I thought I'd get an Italian designer kit on. And I also dug out a Firenze fridge magnet that I got when I visited Florence, the one time that I visited Florence, which I love as a city. It's such a beautiful city.
I'm happy that you like my home city, but I have to be honest, it's easy to like. It's very beautiful. You're right. I totally agree with you.
Yeah, I only had a day there to explore. We're staying at Lake Garda, and we decided to do it's about a 3-hour drive, as you know. But I love Italy. It's such a beautiful country. I've been there a few times, and do you miss being back there?
Well, I missed, of course, I missed the family, I missed my friends, but I'm also enjoying a lot my life here. When I decided to go away from Italy 6 years ago, I had a good job there, and I was my career was actually starting very well in Italy too. But I always had this kind of hitch in my skin that I wanted to live abroad and wanted to do something away. So yeah, I miss a little the family and friends and my city, but at the same time, I'm really happy with the choice that I made.
I want to go back with you today and just kind of look at your journey to where you are just now, talk about some of your philosophies, just your footballing background. So, I mean, growing up in Florence, were you a Fiorentina fan?
Yes. I was a Fiorentina fan. I had season tickets when I was a teenager. Then when I got a little older, I had to, even if you don't play in the top league in Italy, you play most of the time at the same times when the first team is playing. So I was playing, and because I had my path in soccer playing in the lower league in Italy. But I remember clearly that the first question after the 90 minutes was, okay, what's the score of the Fiorentina game? Every time that you were playing.
Who did you like? Like, who were your favorite players growing up, either at club level or for the national team? Like, who were the guys that you admired?
Well, the first one that is in my mind is Batistuta, of course. When I was like again teenager and even a little older than after that, it was my favorite player, Manuel Rui Costa, the goalkeeper, Francesco Toldo. If we talk about Fiorentina's player, but I've always I played as a goalkeeper. I was a goalkeeper, so of course I had my goalkeeper favorite, and one of them was a Cameroon goalkeeper, Thomas Nkono.
Oh yeah.
I loved Peter Schmeichel too when I was a little older. So that's some of the players that I really liked when I was growing up and as a kid. But in terms of love, let's say, of player, and also for the character that he was and everything, I've always been a great fan of Eric Cantona when he was in Man United. That's the thing.
Yeah, he was a right character. I mean, when I think of like goalkeepers in Italy, because I'm old, Dino Zoff is the guy that comes into my head. What was your first sort of Italian national team? Like, what era do you think of?
The first one that I remember, well, actually, one of the first games that I remember is the World Cup final in the 1982 when Italy beat Germany 3-2.
Yeah.
And it basically, I would say, can put as a start, as with my journey with the game, with my love with the game. I was 5 years and a half, so I didn't understand, of course, about the game, but I remember the excitement and the togetherness, and going around the city with the flag after the game, and it looked fantastic. And so I basically was probably the thing that kicked off my love for the game.
Yeah, because that 82 World Cup, that was the first World Cup that I remember watching the 78 World Cup, but I was young and I don't fully remember too much about it. But the 82 one was the first one that I really got into. And whenever I think of the Italian national team, I think of that World Cup, and I think of Zoff and Marco Tardelli and Diego Rossi and like all those kind of guys. So, I mean, when you were playing then, what was the highest level that you got to as a player? Was it always like non-league in Italy, or did you get into league play?
No, I didn't get to the professional level. My top level was the fifth division. That is the highest non-league playing level. Everyone says every time, yeah, I didn't make it because I was a character. I didn't make it because I got injured. I didn't make it because I wasn't good enough. That's the reason why.
That's honest.
That's pure and simple. I was good, a good amateur, but not good as to be a professional footballer. So, but I always had this. That actually drove this passion in me of knowing more about the game, because I knew even when I was playing that I wanted to become a coach.
That brings me nicely to the next thing I was going to ask you, which was like, when did you know you wanted to become a coach? I mean, you've touched on it there, and your journey to get into coaching. You are obviously involved with some teams in Italy, and then you became a national coach educator for the Italian Federation and the American Federation. What was it like getting your badges and going through the coaching process in Italy?
Yeah, it was, of course, in Italy, soccer is a religion, basically. And even when you start coaching and you coach at the youth level or at the non-league level, it's taken very seriously, to be honest. So even from the start, you feel the pressure. The first team that I coached, it was a sixth division team that I finished playing the year before, and I started coaching. And you feel the pressure, even if you are in that level in Italy. It's hard, and it was beautiful, and of course I think it made me, because at the end I coached for 4 years, actually 4 seasons in the non-league, and I think that it helped me also to see things on perspective that are helping me now. Even now, when in the professional game, to put passion first of all, and no matter what, when there's something that you is not going in the way that you want that to go, because at non-league level you need to adapt a lot. You need to be on top of your game. You need to be the best version of yourself, and try to be, I would say, always at the again, as I said, the best version of yourself as a coach and as a man.
Yeah, I love non-league football. I watched a lot of it in Scotland. I follow a lot of it in England. I go out and watch the games here, the amateur games and VMSL and stuff. And to me, I just love that level, because it's just so raw and it's just so pure, and it's away from all the bullshit that goes on sometimes at higher levels and stuff. So, I mean, you spoke about the itch of coming over to the States and doing stuff like that. It's a big decision to make. Obviously, I made it as well, changing countries. But what was it about going to work for the American Federation that really, really appealed to you?
Well, as I told you, my life was going well, because I had even a lucky bump in my life that I was able to then get through winning a couple of championship, and then through got job offer on high level. So I was coaching professional in Italy. I was coaching when I left, actually, I was in the second division in the Serie B. I was at Bari having a contract for them. But again, I always wanted to do life experience, and to really enjoy the fact that this game can be adored, not only to let's say be a profession for your passion, but also to experience things that wouldn't be possible if I wouldn't be involved in soccer. So when the opportunity to work with US Soccer, that of course to go in a big country like the United States, and to have a prestigious position, because they offered me to be one of the national head coach educator, teaching in the pro license, designing the pro license, being involved with the national team. I actually didn't think about it twice, and I said yes. Let's go. So that was really a decision that it was easy to do. Also because my wife was on board on that. So because when you move, and you know better than me, you change country, and you if you have to move a family, and my wife was on board. She wanted to do the experience too, and so that started our path here. And after two years and a half, I had the Whitecaps offer, and here we are.
Yeah, I was going to ask, how did your paths with Mark kind of cross? Like, how did you come on the Whitecaps radar to begin with?
Well, I was like everyone that happened in my life. It's like kind of by chance, and that's also the reason why I say to everyone, you need to kind of treat everyone with the utmost respect and try to be the best version of yourself at every time, because you don't know when it's going to be the day that is going to change your life. So I was teaching. I was the instructor of one of the coaches of LAFC when Mark was there as assistant of Bob. So my job was to go through all the MLS club and teach the coaches. So in this particular time, my candidate was Kenny Arena, that was in the staff with Mark. Mark was the assistant coach. Kenny was another assistant. So I had to stay with them twice for a week to like a microcycle. And in every day I was giving, feedback. I was giving presentation to Kenny, talking about tactics. And Mark was very interested on what I was saying. And he asked me a couple of questions. And we went out for dinner a couple of times. We talked football. And that's how we met. That's how we met. And that's how our relationship started. And when he got hired by the Whitecaps, he actually called me and say, "Hey, you really impressed me. I need an assistant that it's gonna be kind of keeping on my toes or something. And so, would you like be part of this new project?" And that's how he went basically.
Well, that kind of brings us nearly up to date. Obviously, the last week it's been a lot of turmoil, a lot of upheaval. Surprises for some, maybe not for some others. I spoke to Axel yesterday, and he had said this is something that had maybe been on his mind for a while. He just didn't know when the time was going to come. So, I mean, you're 1 week now into the role as interim head coach. How would you sum up this last week, from getting the news to getting this win to now having a couple of days now to actually spend time with the team and try and mould them the way that you want them to be?
A lot of I would say sensations come to my mind, Michael, because it's like at the beginning I felt really sad, to be honest, for Mark and Phil, because again, even if I wasn't involved with the first team, it was this season. I was for the last 2 seasons, so I work with them. I'm their friend, and when one of your friend loses job, you're sad basically. That's the first reaction. The second reaction, I was totally overwhelmed. I want to be completely honest. When they ask me, "Hey, you want to take the team?" Of course you say yes, but then after 10 minutes I say, "Why did I say yes?" So that's it's so say, okay, you don't know if you're ready or not. And so the first day was kind of okay, literally a turmoil. And then I said, okay, we try to we have to do the best. And from day 2, when I stepped on the field and trained and coached the team on the field, doing the speech before the training, the pre-game speech, the game, it actually went very fast. And I would say it felt almost natural, because at the end is what I've done for the last 12, 13 years every day. And it was okay. I can tell to you that the waiting Saturday for the game, it was, of course, much different than other, let's say, eve of any other game. I was much more nervous. I was much more, I would say, I felt much more the pressure. But then, as soon as the players arrived and I had to do my speech, the tactics on the board and everything, I'm at home again. So I was okay.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine what that must have been like. I mean, last week, the day before the Pacific game, I was over there. Mark came, sat down at the end of training. We had a chat. I didn't know that was going to be the last time I was going to speak to him as the head coach. And then everything just moved so quick. Likewise, when you had the under-23 team playing Tigers, I was doing the commentary. Never thought for a minute that I would then be talking to you next as the head coach of the Whitecaps. But I mean, ultimately, that's why you do your pro license. That's why you go through all these things. I mean, long term, I mean, never say never. Would you want this job? Or is that not really something that's ever been in your plans?
I always say, and I've been a coach educator for a lot of years, and I mentored a lot of coaches. Now I'm doing mentoring for the coaches in our academy too. And to every coach, I always says, don't do long-term plan. I think that long-term plan in soccer, in football, are meaningless. And so would I want to be the head coach of an MLS team or the Whitecaps? Of course, yes. It's like okay, we're working and in this industry, and you want to be, I would say, at the best position possible. Do I really think that is my major objective right now? No. I think that my major objective right now is to do my best for the club, is to do my best for myself and for the player that I have, and to really, it's not just a sentence for the journalist. It's like we are really chatting. Well, okay, it's a virtual thing, but it's like we are chatting with a beer in our hands now.
Yeah,
I'm really looking forward game by game, and I want to try to do my best. I'm enjoying it a lot, to be honest. I would be a liar if I say that I'm not enjoying it. I'm really enjoying it, and I will enjoy it for sure until it lasts.
Yeah, it was a great start as well, which I think takes a little bit of the pressure off. I was so delighted for you that you got that win in the first game, because you don't get that win and then all of a sudden everyone's like, oh, was it the right decision? Should he be leading the team? So that takes some of the pressure off. But what have you found to be the biggest challenges so far? I know there's some injury worries this week, there's players away. I mean, what have you found the most challenging part of the job so far?
That's the thing. The most challenging part, the first 2-3 days, I gathered the leadership groups, the 5 or 6 players that are more experienced, and I've been very honest with them and say, hey guys, I know perfectly that the group is not gonna see me as the leader right now, because they just throw you there and you play the game. So I tried to do the most natural thing. It was, hey, I need your help, because luckily I know all of them, the guys that have been with us with more than 1 year. So that for me, the main challenge at the beginning, the first 2-3 days, to see and really to gauge the group if they were following me or not. What you said before is true. The lack that we had a fantastic performance as a first performance, the lack that, of course, made the second week much more easier on that front, because now you have the much more self-confidence also too, and also much more confidence from the group that say, hey, this guy is not just someone, maybe we should listen to him. And to be honest, it's been a fantastic week, and I really need to thank the player on how they worked towards the objective. So I would say that at the moment, that was the first kind of big obstacle at the beginning. It seems that it went okay. So I'm touching wood right now, but I think the next trouble will be when we're gonna face something that after a bad performance, or maybe when we don't get a result on how to be consistent and to try to be better.
Yeah, and I mean, hopefully we're recording this on Friday. By the time this comes out on Sunday, hopefully it's a second win that we're going to be talking about on this show.
Yeah.
Like, for people that don't know you, or for people that haven't seen the under-23s play or listened to you talk, how would you describe your coaching philosophy? How would your ideal team basically play?
So my coaching philosophy is team first. It's, if you want to summarize it. So what does it mean? That the organization of the team, that the structure of the team, the way that the team play, the team principle, the team tactical principle are the real leader of the team. I firmly believe that an individual cannot shine individually if he's not in a very high organized team. So I don't have, well, I would say you can play whatever. That's what the thing that I say also to my academy coaches too. You can play whatever style of football you like, as long as it's highly organized. That's the only time that I'm going to become very annoying. When you don't work on your principle, when you don't work on your organization, and when don't you ask yourself, what would I do in this situation or this situation or this situation? Because that's the utopia for the coach, to know everything. In terms of general playing philosophy, what I like is to have kind of a very zonal approach when we defend, highly zonal. So I don't like the man-to-man marking. I like to have to be in control and to be a very compact team all over the field, that to be zonal. And when we have the ball, I like possession with purpose. So we don't need to make 700 passes to be a great team. We need to make the I would say necessary amount of passes in order to create goal chances.
I love the sound of that. I loved your Christmas tree formation last week as well. That's one of the formations I've always been a fan of. And from watching the under-23s play, I know you like the attacking football, and organisation is clear to see there. I mean, that game against the Tigers, you went down a man and you were still so organised and still able to get attacks going. Just the last couple of things. Talking of the under-23s, obviously your role before getting this, you were director of methodology and you were the head coach of the under-23s. It's such a tough part of the organisation just now of getting these young guys, these guys coming through minutes. And I know there's guys out on loan now, and under-23s have been just travelling around playing all these games. The 19s are going to be going into the Fraser Valley League starting next weekend. I mean, the way forward, I know you might not have the full say on this, but we know there's this MLS Reserve League finally coming into fruition again next season. Is that the way forward for the club and these young guys to have this second team actually playing meaningful matches and competitive matches?
We need a league. We need a league for sure. That's a must. If you ask me, what's more important for a young player, to have Pep Guardiola as a coach or to have a really competitive league to play for? Is to have a competitive league to play for, because that's the only way that a player can develop, that also the organization can see if the players are good or not, and it's the only way, basically, where you can invest on players and not gamble on players, because that's what basically not having a second team force you to do. You gamble on players when they are 17, 18, giving them a contract to some of them, and to some of them you don't, and you hope. Because while if you have a second team, they play in a professional league like MLS 2 is going to be, hopefully, And so we can really test the player for 20, 25 games. We can really test the player if he's ready for the next step, because the philosophy should be only if you're good at the previous step, you should go to the next step. And I think that the MLS2 can be a great improvement for the U23 lads, because they're gonna be tested every game against other guys that are trying for a professional contract. So, and I loved the previous model when the second team was in the USL. I really loved that.
Me too.
But of course, that's another story. In any case, we need a league. Either is I don't know in the future if CPL will allow the second team to be there, or it's going to be MLS2. The league is fundamental.
Yeah, and good quality and good testing. I mean, we won't get into all this just now because this is a whole other discussion I'd love to have with you one day. But the under-19s, like going into the Fraser Valley League, to me, I don't see them getting tested there. But obviously they have to have a league to play in. There's a couple of strong teams. Other ones seem to have dropped out now. So I guess we'll see how that goes. But fingers crossed everything gets underway with this MLS2 next season, because it's very, very much needed. Thank you so much for your time today, Vanni. It's always a pleasure chatting to you, and I'm delighted you've got this opportunity. Looking forward to seeing what you do with the team and chatting to you some more down the line.
Thank you, and see you tomorrow. See you soon.
Yes.
Okay. Ciao,
take care.
Bye.
Thanks so much, Vanni.
Ciao.
Bye.
Take care.
Whitecaps interim head coach Vanni Sartini there. Lots of fun chatting to Vanni. He's a character. I really enjoy chatting to him. He's a great guy to have around with the Whitecaps, and whether he continues as head coach down the line, which you've probably got to think is unlikely, he will be involved with the under-23s and director of methodology, and he's a great guy to have at the club. I do want to talk about one thing that he said there, Gideon, and it's like just about his coaching philosophy. So he likes his teams to be aggressive. He wants them to move the ball quickly, but organisation to him is the key. The one thing that really pisses him off is if he puts a team out to play in a certain way and they're disorganised. I'm sure he had some choice words as we talked about at half-time, because it was a very disorganised way, but it's kind of what we need. He likes zonal marking. He likes an attractive, aggressive style of play, and it seems to fit what the Whitecaps have just now. And I'm quite excited to see what he can do with this team down the stretch.
Yeah, it kind of harps on my earlier point about MDS and not getting that result if it was after halftime. Like, he knows these players, and probably not as good as MDS, but he wasn't with the coaching staff this year on the first team anyways, and it just seems like he's played this system, the entire year with how comfortable he is throwing players on, and maybe not in their most comfortable position, but they find a niche on the pitch like Caicedo did, and Dahomey getting the assist and the Godoy goal. So he's finding ways to win, and I don't know what it is about him, but I just love his coaching style, his air, just the way he talks, like the way he talked to you in his interview, just so relaxed, talking about his background in Italy. And you just like to see that. Like, he's fun off and on the pitch. He's so animated, and that really gets the players going, because you saw how excited he was after the game. After the final
jumping around and
yeah. So you just love to see that, and I think for the players after a tough start to the year and a tough last week, they've with the coaching change anyways is really exciting.
I mean, his enthusiasm, it's infectious, Steve. And I wanted to do a chat there, not so much talking about him going into this position and like playing and everything like that, but just to get people to get to know him a little bit and talk about his background. And I mean, he's come through, he's never coached at a high level. 6th tier in Italy has been the highest team that he's coached. He was an assistant in Serie B and got that team promoted as an assistant, and obviously an assistant in MLS. But the fact that for, I think it's about 7-8 years, he was a coach's educator in Italy and then with the USSF down in the States. He's got his pro license, so he knows the coaching game. this is now, it's almost like playing Football Manager, I guess. Now he's got the chance to actually do it with real players and not just teach the coaches about it.
Yeah, it's basically like the old adage, like he's basically trying to he in the past he's taught, and now he has to put it into effect. And how that is. The thing is, the problem is that he's probably learning that players don't always listen to the coaches, and how to get that through. So he's getting some practical.
Yeah. It's like when you go on a training course, you're always told at work, this is the best way to do things. But reality is there's other things crop up that how you know to do it isn't always the way that it can get done.
And Zach can probably attest to this. It's like when you get those parental books that you read on how to raise a kid and everything, and then you actually get a kid, and it's not the same as the books. So it's very similar to that. Like honestly, like these players are basically like babies, and you have to like organize them and figure out how to best to raise them and put.
Gotta get out the shaker and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, and I guarantee you that you're saying you were talking about a previous thing about the organization. Don't tell me that MDS didn't want organization and stuff like that.
Oh no,
and the players clearly weren't getting. He was getting through the players, and so the first half of this Austin game was the same thing. You saw the same thing where they tried to get it organized and they weren't doing it. So it's basically the whole thing of what they say: don't yell at your kids. Don't yell at your kids. That's not the way to raise them. And then you end up yelling at them, and then they finally kind of fall into place. So it's very similar to that. I would put parallels to.
A good insight there into the Pander household.
What about the ones that run away?
No, I just yell right off the bat. I just start yelling at them. Like
I just yell at other people's kids. It's fine.
It's like a pregame. Like I just start yelling at them in a pregame before he even gets to the point.
I mean, the thing is, Zach, there was a lot of pressure on him going into that game against RSL and Axel as well, because it could all have gone tits up and folk would be like, why did you make this change? Why is he taking the team? So that bought him a little bit of time. And getting the second win now has bought him even some more time. I think the general feeling that I can gauge on social media is he's got everyone with him. He's got the backing. He's got them all on board so far.
Well, that's because he's won both his matches.
Yeah.
And on top of that, I think what he's done is a few things that supporters, pundits, journalists have wanted the previous coach to do. Be a little more flexible, make bigger changes within a match, that kind of, and do things tactically a little more differently. A different approach to substitution. Like there's a few things that he's done that people have been just like, chomping at the bit for, and he's given it to them, and they won. So I think he's done enough to, there's lots of people who are really, really happy with what he's done. And obviously it's a very, very small sample size, but it bodes well for him, for whatever he's going to do in the rest of the season with Vancouver and then down the road as well.
Yeah. I mean, who knows? He could go on a big run with them, and then that makes the role very interesting. What do you do then?
But the problem is that you're talking about like being bold in your substitutions and taking players off when they're not performing well. The thing is Mark DeSantos was with this team every day. So he knows that he has to be careful with them, and he has to not like put them down. Whereas Vanni knows that he might not be here next year. So he's just going to play it out and just see what comes. Like he doesn't have any loyalty to these players. Like he's trying to get results, and that's the thing is when you have a full-time coach, you got to play the political game where you're trying to see who you're going to upset by. Like, would he have pulled Bruno Gaspar off at halftime? Who knows? Maybe he goes, I want to give him another
Bruno Gaspar.
Yeah, obviously, clearly he wasn't doing that before, but he would, like a player like that, he would have given him anher 10 minutes in the second half because he wants to see if he can pull himself out of it and see if he can get back on the right track. And whereas Vanni Sartini doesn't have that connection to these players. If he doesn't like a player, he'll take him off because he knows he's going to go back to wherever he's before.
I mean, what I'll say in defense of Mark is, like, he wanted the team to play a certain way, and for whatever reason, as you said, Steve, they just weren't playing that way, whether they were incapable of it or whether it was the wrong kind of players, or I don't know what it was. But my criticism of Mark, and I've said this to him, is like the lateness of substitutions that he made, and that ability to, if things aren't going right, do you drastically change it? And then you see the likes of like the loyalty to players, as you said there, Steve. Vanni's come in, he's got no loyalty to any players. He's putting the best players that he thinks can get the job done, like Jungwirth. Gaspar, that one didn't quite work out, but that's kind of how it's gone. Dropping Caicedo.
Like, the thing is, Gaspar, he put that in there because he really had no other choices.
Oh, yeah. It was him or Godinho, really. I guess you could have stuck Godoy at right back. So many right backs.
Or play a 3-5-2 or something.
Yeah,
he
have like 8 right backs.
No, he did have options, and I think when we were talking last week, I think, Michael, about were there players that other people within the organization felt should play, potentially, specifically the new stats people, the overhauls or whatever, like who felt like, you know, we brought in these guys to play in the system that we all agreed to, and they're not getting the time. I think Gaspar kind of felt like that, but he was obviously just awful.
Yeah, it might still take him a bit of time to.
Again, Gaspar. Gaspar. The thing is he's never been known for defending. Even when he came in, people said that he's not a defender.
He's in it because we thought we'd have him and Ali tearing up the wings when we brought them in, and we have not seen the best of him clearly, and I don't know if we will get to, or whether this might be a loan that doesn't work out when you've got a young guy like Javaine Brown doing so well.
Oh, it's a done deal. He's not coming back again. There's no way they can bring him back after having Javaine Brown.
Yeah, I'd say so. But anyway, hope you enjoyed that chat with Vanni. Obviously, one burning question, well, maybe a couple, but the main burning question that we didn't ask him there, does Vanni Sartini fancy a chocolate digestive?
Anyone fancy a chocolate digestive, even though it's unsuggested? Anyone fancy a chocolate digestive?
Say you're sitting at home and you decide to have a hot beverage. What is your hot beverage of choice? Tea, coffee, something else?
Not coffee, espresso, not coffee. The only way to drink coffee is espresso.
Ah, so if you're having your espresso, do you have a sweet tooth? What would you have with it? Do you have like a biscuit or a cookie, or do you stay away from those things?
I don't have a particularly sweet tooth, but if I have to do it, I like to pair my espresso with, I can make a little piece of chocolate. Black chocolate was 75% of chocolate. Those kind of things I like.
But when I tell my wife that, she'll be delighted because that's hers. That's her favourite choice. I've slowly started, like, I like the traditional cappuccinos now, the 8-ounce.
Cool.
Because now when I go to anything bigger, I'm like, oh, that's way too milky. So I'm slowly getting down to maybe having an espresso just as a shot. I haven't quite got there yet, but fingers crossed one day. So if you've got your chocolate then and you've got your espresso, do you dunk your chocolate into the espresso?
No. I like to do drinking and eating separately. So that's the thing. I've never been a fan even for the putting cereal in the milk. Even when I was a kid, I never been a fan of that.
Excellent.
Anyone fancy a chocolate digestive? Anyone fancy a chocolate digestive? Anyone fancy a chocolate digestive, even though it's unsuggested? Anyone fancy a chocolate digestive?
Vanni Sartini there, not fancying a chocolate digestive, but a little square, a 75% dark chocolate. Not dipped in his espresso either. Got to have it separate. I like the man, he's a character. But that is it for the Whitecaps chat. We're turning our attention to the international stage next. We'll be back looking at Canada versus the USA after this.
Hi, I'm Ryan Gold, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
Welcome, ladies and gents, let's begin. Enter into a world unfurled that's too grim. We're sin cast in, cast out of the scene. Hold a cast in addition, my mission is no dream, it's a nightmare. Right here, set a right here. A new kind of word for your ears, a straight fear. Last year, a bright year, ahead by a late year. From constantly putting to confidence with Mike's dear Drew. How you doing? You ain't looking too good. You should have moved on by now, but you're misunderstood. Just the tall let fall, then you had to bring it back. Remind these little punks how you sound on a track. I'm like that, hitting like injecting a smack, vocal dripping through the needle like treacle. It's solely for my people, we're no feeble, we're sending it's pure evil.
smoke, latex away, we ain't leaving you jack. Straight jacket, they say I'm out in my heat. Straight jacket, never ever paid for a beat. Straight jacket, yeah, I find on my keep. Straight jacket, yeah, I'm straight jacket. Say that I'm out in my heat. Straight jacket, never ever paid for a beat. Straight jacket, yeah, what I find I just keep. Straight jacket, I'm straight jacket.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And kicking off this part is our Artist of the Month for September here at AFTN from Edinburgh, Scotland, Word SOS. And that is a song from his 2013 6-track concept EP, Straight Jacket. That is the title track. It's an EP set in an alternate history where magic was proven to exist in the year 1899. The use of sorcery spread throughout all facets of society and changed the social and technological development of the world. It's a great EP. It's free to download on Bandcamp, word.bandcamp.com. Check that out. Check out all his other stuff on that as well. Support him. Download his latest stuff. Give him some money. He's also available on iTunes, Spotify, everywhere that you get your music. Magic. Tell you what was magic tonight. All Out. AEW, the wrestling. My only disappointment was it was on the same time as the Canada-America game, Steve, and I'll be honest, I had the football on my laptop at the side. I was fully focused on All Out. Absolutely tremendous what they're doing. We won't spoil it for anyone that might want to watch it down the line, like Zach. He's eager to get home and get that pay-per-view. But what a show, what an ending, what a company.
Yeah, it's fun to watch some people like actually caring about people and doing it the right way, and kind of have people at the right spots. That's all I'll say about that.
Yeah. Something else, though, that was exciting tonight was the America-Canada game. Well, in phases. I've got to say, I found the first half a little bit boring, a little bit of a chess match. It was the 1812 derby. Do we have a name for Canada-America as a derby? Zach, you must know. No?
Well, I mean, people call it different things, but I think 1812 derby is fun.
I'll go with that, because Canada won that one. Didn't win tonight, but came close. Maybe had chances to do it.
Yeah, but if there was social media back in 1812, the messages from Americans would have probably been about the same, even though it was a draw.
Yes. It finished 1-1. First half, a little bit cagey. A little bit of a chess match. Opened up at times. Second half was where all the excitement came. We'll get into all of that in this part. And look at what happened in the rest of CONCACAF. And also look elsewhere in international football. A crazy thing that happened today down in CONMEBOL. But America, Canada. A packed Nashville. Really packed Nashville. Very pro-America, obviously. Not many Canadian fans down for that. The lineup for this one, Zach. Now, we spoke about it on the last show. Would John Herdman play a slightly weaker lineup with his kind of eye on the big El Salvador game on Wednesday as being the must-win three-pointer? And there were some changes to this. I still think it was a pretty strong lineup, though, and a very competitive lineup.
Yeah, it was half the outfield players were changed, right? 5. But yeah, I think I totally forgot. I totally forgot that. I don't know how limited. Like the squad that faced the U.S. at the Gold Cup in the summer was missing key pieces, and I totally forgot about a few of them, including I forgot that I know Alfonso didn't play in the tournament, but I totally forgot that. And I think that's one of the things later today that had me optimistic for what could happen. But yeah, I think a significant change, and we just finished talking about Vanni Sartini and kind of how he's changed things for Vancouver and been willing to do things that maybe we haven't seen other people do. And again, I think one of the things that's been refreshing with John Herdman with Canada is it's not just what to expect. It's going to be the same formation, same kind of lineup, whatever. You saw him take a very different approach with this game than he did the other day. And yeah, it was a little bit more defensive. I mean, I think that's fair to say.
Well, I think you'd expect that for an away match, and especially down against one of the top teams in the region.
Yeah, But I think,
And at least John Herdman had always players to select from. None of them seemed to
Yeah.
break COVID protocols.
what was it that McKinney did?
They've not
They
said
haven't
yet.
revealed. They're not
Oh.
going to reveal.
I heard
But
he I
back
heard
in
he apologized.
April, he threw a party when he was with Juventus and broke COVID protocols there that made him miss matches. You think you'd learn from that and not do something stupid again, but
McKinney and Instagram post did take full responsibility,
Yeah.
and so and he said he'd be cheering from the bench, but despite that, it's still a stupid move.
Yeah,
Like,
because
yeah.
that to me was another huge boost. As soon as I saw that, I was just like,
Yeah,
oh,
and then
this is
Zach
good.
Steffen was out as for testing positive for COVID as well. What was your thoughts on the game overall, Gideon?
I think to be in the the second half and have the bench like John Hardman did at his disposal with David
yeah.
Hutchinson, Buchanan, like I was okay with that to have that kind of depth. Whereas the Gold Cup game against the States, it was like, Cavallini goes off early. It's like, well, who do you have on? He had Hoylett, and I think up top at one point with Buchanan or something like that. So I was very confident in the fact that they had numbers off the bench. The one thing that concerned me was the back line, and I think that's obviously going to be something that Canadians are going to be worried about for the next little while. I mean, with Victoria on the bench and Daniel Henry showing his Whitecaps days defending. So I didn't love the defending on the goal, but I'm sure we'll get to that. But a couple of greasy backdoor tap-in goals, and it full deserved point, I think. But I think the 3 points on Wednesday against El Salvador is a must win.
Is that what the kids are calling those kind of goals these days? Greasy?
Greasy.
He's down with the kids. We've got to go with what he says. I mean, the thing is, Steve, into the 2 games, we've got 2 points. I genuinely thought we'd have 3, so we're only down 1 point, really. I didn't think... I knew we had a chance of taking something in this one, but I just thought the US would be too strong. But, I mean, overall, I think it was a well-deserved point. And they could have won it.
They could have won it, and the thing is that they made those substitutions in the like in the 70th, somewhere in the 70th minute or something like that. Like after the 70th minute, I can't. Let me look it up right now. Yeah, where they brought out they took off Davies. Where I'm honestly thinking that if this is a 2-game series, like a qualifying like week instead of the 3 they have this time, because they have to squeeze everything in. Davies plays the whole game. In those 13 minutes, 15 minutes that they had at the end there, he could be just as dangerous and taking out. Like if he had another 15, he could have easily set up another goal.
I think
he's injured.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
Steve, it was the coaching staff's decision. I agree that he could have, they would have wanted to keep him on if there was not another game coming up. But he's the one. He asked to be.
Yeah, he's sitting up for the sub.
They went for the game. They didn't just sit back, and they were at the point after they scored the goal, even in the 65th, they brought in David for Laren, and they brought in Buchanan for Hoylett.
Yeah.
And there was no drop off. That's the thing. They made these
great to
substitutions,
have those subs.
and there's no drop off at all, and that's where it's encouraging that they had that chance to go for the game.
Well,
So
when I
that's
saw
the
when I saw the lineup and I saw the bench, I thought, if they're still in with a shout with like 20 odd minutes to go, got a great chance here. I was a lot more optimistic than I was going into the game. I mean, the first half, we won't break down the whole game like we do with Whitecaps. We'll just touch on some of the big talking points. First half was cagey. I mean, you said to me when we were chatting, it was an enjoyable game. It was and it wasn't, because it was cagey. It was very tactical. It was very chess match. Chances were at a premium. Now, Laren had a great chance that you feel if he'd put it to the other side of the keeper, that was in the back of the net. But he went for the near post, and the keeper managed to just stick his hand up. And then Pusilic got that one off the post that I don't know how much he really knew about it. He was kind of falling over at the time, but that's what a good striker does. Gets his feet out of the ground. Hope Brian White was watching that. And gets that one off the post. But, I mean, I think the US probably shaded the first half, if we're being honest.
Sure, but Michael, for me, the match was engaging, obviously, because I have a horse in the race. It was the kind of match you couldn't take your eyes off of. I just couldn't. Like, I know
I
you're
was
right.
watching AEW.
Well, exactly, but you're Scottish, so it's okay.
I know
but
Scott
I
Arfield
just,
and David Wotherspoon weren't playing, so I was like,
yeah, exactly. No, but originally I was like, hey, Kirk, the game's on. We could maybe just like play a game while the game's on. I'll watch whatever. But like as the game was in the buildup, I just turned to him. I said, buddy, I can't play a game. We need to. And he's like, yeah. He's like, I don't want to play a game. I want to watch this.
ah. But were
And
you like
and so
Steve? Actually, were you your usual fetal position, or were you
Oh
enjoying
yeah,
it?
100% fetal position. There's no game that not for a while it's going to be until I get out of that.
the chances you talked about, Michael, I really feel like I think I messaged you that if Jonathan David had been in the spot that Laren was in, I think he takes it first time with his left foot and puts it across goal,
Yeah,
assuming an angle is there.
yeah.
But
It had to go across goal.
it was awkward the way Laren opened his body so he could side foot with his the foot that it wasn't more directly on. It was kind of awkward.
My thinking is, and I haven't watched this back at all. I've only seen it the once because basically I've watched the wrestling, taken the dog out, jumped on to do this show. But from my initial thought watching it was he expected the keeper to think he was going to go across goal, so he thought I'll do the little dink into the inside because he'll never be able to get to that.
His Turner was moving like it looked like the Turner moved, and then he just kept his hand dragging at the end there.
Yeah,
And that's
Turner's
where it
been
was
a
able to
revelation this year. Like what a keeper he's turned out to be.
But it also just I think the way he worked his body, it let the keeper know what was going to happen.
Yeah,
and it was kind of I don't know, felt slowish. But the Pulisic chance was really a not great defensive play from Sam. One of his few not great moments in the match. He had some really good moments in the match, but the way he tucked in and left the wide player open, which legit was spun and got the pass to. And then you're right, Pulisic is sort of falling down and I don't think knows too much about it. But yeah, it was all in all, there was a lot to build on, I think, for Canada from that first half.
yeah.
The thing is with the Laren goal, I just want to go back to that one more time because I do have it on my screen right now. And I noticed it earlier. I just wanted to make sure when he had that shot, he had two defenders in the middle of the pitch. So if he knocked it over that way, it could have easily been blocked off the line. So that shot and the near post might have been the only chance for him to even get it on net or have a chance at scoring. So there was like very little like opening on the middle of the pitch because he was right behind whoever number 12 is, I can see, and number 5. I think that's Brooks. He was in the middle of the pitch too, so it could have been easily cleared off the line when he shot it. So yeah, very little opportunity. I saw that. I noticed that at the time, but I wanted to make sure about that.
How were you feeling at halftime, Gideon? Confident or fearing the worst?
I was confident, like I mentioned, with the whole bench situation, like the US team missing Steffen and Gio Reyna as well from Dortmund, as well as Weston McKinney, probably two of their best, 3 midfield players. So I think it felt like the game in the Gold Cup where, they go down early, obviously not in this game, but it felt like they could have gone either way for the States in the first half. And there was definitely, I think, a winnable chance late on when Buchanan broke down the right side, and not sure if he should have passed across it. Same with David as well. So I think that was a winnable game in the last 10 minutes. And I really loved how Herdman used his assets in that game to bring on, Buchanan, David, Hutchinson later on, Osorio. So I hope Davies is okay. And before halftime or going into halftime, I was confident that, it'd be a point regardless of if it was a 1-0 Canada lead or a 1-0 US lead, that they would kind of come up out of it with at least a point.
I want to talk about an incident just before the goals came, just to get your thoughts on it. Now, if anyone didn't listen to the last show or they haven't really been watching this, there's no VAR at all in these CONCACAF World Cup qualifiers because only Canada, America and Mexico had the facilities to make sure that it could be done for every game. So, because it can't be done for every game, it's not done for any of the games. I think if there was VAR, that tackle on Daniil Henry in the second half would have been a red card. Because he went over the ball, he stood on his ankle. Is that just me being a little bit biased, or what did you guys think, Zach?
Was that when Henry was down for a while and was in some discomfort?
Yeah.
It didn't look very good. I mean, from any angle for a Canadian fan, but I think it was a little bit of ill intent there.
He didn't even get booked on the play, right?
No.
Yeah, that was kind of shocking. I think it might have been I could see it being a red, Michael, but I could also see it, I think it was a good judgment call. And when the ref didn't have a good look at it, obviously, because he didn't even give it a yellow, and I think it was at least a yellow. So
I was worried for Daniil the way that he was selling
yeah.
it. I thought, but Daniil is kind of, he has a bit of a Carlisle Mitchell about him. He goes down and you think he's dead at times. He kind of makes the most of all these.
The way his left leg did bend, though, like, I mean,
yeah, it really went
did not
under
look
him.
comfortable.
No,
Yeah.
I was like, oh,
So,
knee or something had maybe gone, or.
I think we talked about this in the last show, though. Like, Canada's going to get CONCACAF somewhere along the line with no VAR.
Oh yeah,
like they that's what they.
Hopefully that was it, and we don't have to talk about anything bad again.
But it won't. But it won't be.
No, the goal came shortly after that. The American goal, Aronson got it, and I mean, what a team goal from an American point of view. They moved the ball about beautifully, did everything right, and it was a great finish. But aided by some sloppy Canadian play.
Yeah, and it started with Kennedy.
No.
Yes,
it started with Alfonso. It was not a good throw-in.
Well, whatever the case is, that's fine. But there was a bad giveaway too in the middle of the pitch. So yeah, you're probably right. The throw-in wasn't that great. It was probably rushed, but Kennedy with a really bad giveaway in a poor position, and then it just at that point the U.S. just took over. And for me, I know Gideon was saying Daniel Henry was to blame for that. The problem is, if he did anything, he might have created an own goal. The guy that did not play that ball well was Borjan. Borjan, if that was Max Krapowinet, Max would have gone across and denied that cross from getting into the box with a hand or something, with a punch out. And that's what was missing here.
I don't think actually Daniel had a chance on. I think that's why he didn't slide in or do anything. It was too far ahead of him.
Yeah, it would have been own goal. If he had done anything, like put a foot in there, it would have gone in the net anyways.
Yeah, but it really, Alfonso's throw into Kennedy, I think he forgot. He's used to passing or taking throw-ins to Bundesliga center backs, and I like exactly. I'm happy for him, but he was passing it to a second Bundesliga center back who made a really poor decision on what to do with the ball and got stripped. Right, like it was. Yeah. Right away, I was screaming at the TV. I was like, Kirk, let's watch this. Like you could just like sense it coming. Like
don't you ever do this?
Yeah.
When you're playing for the national team, you will not do that. Yeah. But from an American point of view, I mean, they moved the ball so fast, and it was the best bit of movement the Americans had the whole night. Yeah. And I feared the worst after that. I didn't know if Canada would get back into it, because I thought America will be like confident, Canada will leave gaps, and they might grab a second. I thought we'd probably get one, but I thought it might end up as a 2-1 American thing. But what do I know? That's why I was watching the wrestling. Kyle Larin, 62nd minute, just past the hour mark. Great fight back altogether by Canada, but first of all, the ball that set up the move from Sam Adekugbe, wow. Yeah. That was immense. To Fonzie cuts it into the middle for Larin, tucks it home. Beautiful goal, Gideon.
Yeah, I have to thank DeAndre Edlin for his poor defending on this one. Came on as a sub for Serginho Dest just at halftime and looked like, I don't know, a toddler out there on the pitch, to quote Steve. Like the way that we all know Davies can, break it at pace, at will, but just the vision across goal. And then again, Robinson and Brooks were kind of dead in the water there as Larin was seemingly wide open there. It looked like a training ground tap in, or when they have those crosses into the box and warm up and guys are just heading into the back of the net. So yeah, it was a simple goal for Larin to score. And I think after the first half, he was deserving one, and full credit to him to get that tap. And I don't think he'd ever miss from there, but great setup by Adekugbe and Davies.
I don't think we can take for granted any goal as being simple for Kyle Larin. Because I mean, in his time with Canada, I know he's got tons of goals now. He's way up the chart. He's got like a dozen this year alone, but he's missed some pretty wide open chances in the past. So
I mean that one, yeah. I don't know if he's had one that open this year, but that I've seen anyways.
Not this year, but the one Gold Cup he played in, there was a few.
And then you talk about the substitutions. That substitution of Kennedy for Miller, who
Yeah.
made that initial pass out to Adekugbe. That another great substitution. That
Miller and
again,
Kennedy.
if this was a 2-game series, like a qualifying series, like Miller would have started this game.
Miller,
He would have
yeah.
been.
I think you're right.
Miller and Kennedy
No,
have
that
come
would
out
have
of
been
nowhere, though. I
But
love it.
also, we didn't talk about with the goal. That wasn't a, from my understanding, that wasn't a Herdman tactical decision or whatever. Like Kennedy got hurt on the goal, which is partly why I think.
Yeah, he probably
Which
did.
is partly why I think he wasn't in a better spot to defend it after the giveaway.
I mean,
Yeah,
talking
no,
of
I agree with that. Like he looked in distress after the goal
Yeah.
too. It wasn't because of the giveaway.
Talking of substitutions, I mean, obviously the American response after the game was as measured as you would imagine it was, but their fans in particular in the media were just going on about the lack of substitutions till late on and why were they not trying to... It's like they're spot on in that. It was kind of baffling what Berhalter was doing. This is a game, and we talked about Canada dropping those 2 points against Honduras and how big that could be. America's start, they've got 2 points from their first 2 games, and they've now got an away trip to Honduras coming up. They could soon be in a mess pretty darn quick after these first 3 matches. The squad management and the tactics by Berhalter was bizarre, and Canada, I feel, should have won it. If they'd only listened to what Mark DeSantis wanted to do with Lucas Cavallini and have somebody in the 6-yard box, at least one of those balls that went flying across goal to the back post would have been tucked home. It's criminal not to have a guy running in to put that away.
Yeah, but at least one of the times, I can't remember. I think it was either Buchanan.
I think it was Buchanan's. If it's
or
what
Larea.
I'm gonna say.
They should have put their head up and seen the wide open guys on the 6-yard box or on the penalty spot or whatever.
Yeah.
Like,
There's 2 of them, yeah.
I
Buchanan
think-
and Larry had those 10.
My thing in that would be, though, if you're Buchanan, you're expecting them to make a run. You're expecting that anticipation that the ball's going to come in there. Because I was a crap footballer, but what I was a really good poacher in the 6-yard box. And I got a hell of a lot of goals in the 6-yard box in my time playing. And it's because I anticipated the ball's going to go there, or it's going to hit off somebody, or the goalkeeper is going to have a deflection, and you're in the right place to just poke it home.
There's other than our hairstyle, there's something else we have in common, Michael.
And that's where, for the Americans, I know I don't want to speak too long on the Americans. I was very surprised that, I know he's a young guy still, but Ricardo Pepi, not seeing any time in these first 2 games. I don't know what they're saving him for, but he's shown good form with FC Dallas, and if you put him in with this kind of like elevated lineup in the U.S. team, maybe you get something even out of him. So that's surprising that, but I'm okay with it because that means they're not winning the games.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can't. In no reality can I see the U.S. missing back-to-back World Cups, but one can dream.
I don't know. I mean, like, look at the other results tonight. Jamaica 0, Panama 3. That's a shock to me because I thought Jamaica might have been a bit of the dark horses in this to get in the top 3. They've got the players that they can turn it on. It was 2 first-half goals and then one with 8 minutes left for Panama in that one. Costa Rica 0, Mexico 1. As I said in the last one, just get Mexico to just beat everyone, apart from Canada. That'll do it nicely.
Yeah.
Made hard work if a penalty a minute into first-half stoppage time was what got them the points, but not great for Costa Rica. And then El Salvador 0, Honduras 0. I think that's great for Canada.
Yeah.
And how that leaves the table after the first 2 games. Mexico out in top, 6 points. Panama second before.
Yeah.
Did not see that coming. Early days, of course. Canada, though, we're in the third. We've made it. 2 points from 2. Then Honduras, US, El Salvador all on 2. Costa Rica on 1. Jamaica, no points of their own accord.
Yeah.
The thing is people want to make a thing about Canada dropping those points, obviously, and it was disheartening to see those points drop. But only one home team has won a game this so far through these first 8 games. That was Mexico over Jamaica.
This is going to be amazing how this plays out.
Like we'll look a little bit at El Salvador and Honduras, but if you look at their stats for this game, they dominated possession with Honduras. They 70-30, so they were going for this win, but they only created 1 shot on target through 70% possession. So that's almost American-like there with that.
Honduras
those stats.
though picked up 2 road points now. So, I mean, that's interesting. The game's coming up on Wednesday. Canada, El Salvador, Costa Rica, Jamaica, Panama, Mexico, Honduras, US. Now, the Canada, El Salvador game's a 4:30 kickoff. And Honduras, US is 7:30. That's the two games I'm going to be avidly watching. I'm looking forward to... I don't know if Honduras can get a win there. I know that might not be great for Canada in the grand scheme of things if they pick up 3 points, but it'd be so funny. And the meltdown, Gideon, online from American fans. Oh, I'm there for that.
Yeah, I know. If they want to Jamaica the World Cup, the US really need to improve the just as we've talked about before, the squad management was poor. I think having Josh Sargent, who's a Premier League player, come onto the pitch for PFOC or whatever his name is. I hate to, use that terminology, but that's his name anyways. But Greg Berhalter's just tactics were not ideal. I mean, missing McKinney and Stefan and Reyna and what have you. Like, I just think if they don't win against Honduras and they go into November's 3 games and maybe don't win one there, I think Berhalter's job will definitely be on the line. And
you'll get pre-Fox too.
Hey, he could be the next Whitecaps coach. He's got MLS experience.
But yeah, if they can't beat Honduras and they go into the next round of matches with maybe getting 1 to 3 points, it'll be a tough road to make the World Cup again.
It's like,
or
Greg,
if they can.
I've got bad news for you. You're sacked. I've got even worse news for you. You're going to Vancouver as the next head coach.
I personally think that even though you'd love to see Honduras pull out something, either a draw or a USA win is what Canada needs at this point. They can't have Honduras picking. They already picked up 2 points. You don't want them picking it up.
Yeah. Realistically, that would not be good.
I was trying to explain that to Kirk today. We were looking at the scores at halftime. He's like, "Oh, Mexico's winning. We want them to lose." I was like, yes, in one sense, we do want them to lose. But in another sense, if they win all their games, except for against us, that might be helpful.
Yeah.
And he was like trying to come to grips with that.
We want as many draws as possible while all this kind of shakes out, really, as well. Lots of draws and Mexico winning is the ideal scenario, as long as Canada can get the job done. So that game's coming up on Wednesday. We probably won't do a post-game for that, with the Whitecaps game being on Friday. Last little bit of international talk. I've got to talk about the Brazil-Argentina game today, the World Cup qualifier. That was just... Yes, the training thing on the pitch as it ended up, that was just like batshit crazy.
Did Weston McKinney hold a party for some of the Argentines?
If you want the full timeline, check out a Twitter thread by @EIF Soccer, and it's just absolutely amazing. In short, Anvisa, an organ from Brazil's health ministry, was alerted that 4 of the Argentine players had apparently, they're saying, lied about having been in England in the last 2 weeks, despite these players having played in front of like hundreds of millions of fans around the world in games in the Premier League. Not quite sure how they wouldn't know. And they were meant to then quarantine when they went in Brazil, but they didn't quarantine, and then the Brazil's federal government negotiated with the Brazil Football Federation and CONMEBOL to give an exemption, and Visa were like, no, we are not taking that. We're doing what we want to do. And then they were going to arrest the players after the game initially, but then they didn't agree to that. And then, cut a long story short, they just stormed on the pitch to arrest the players mid-match, right at the start of the match. And then all hell broke loose. Argentina locked himself in the locker room. They got a police escort out of it. I don't even know what's going to happen. But the game was officially suspended. What do you make of that?
Well, the players did get away because they showed a picture of them on the plane.
Well, that's good.
So they did get away. It was like the 28th post in that timeline. So it's crazy. The thing is, the most ironic thing is this is a organization that's looking towards the health of Brazil, but yet look at the way they've dealt with COVID over this past year and a half. Not very well. So it's odd to me that here's where they decide to draw the line and put their foot down.
That's exactly what I thought. It's like that country has been an absolute shit show with how they've managed things. And it's like, oh, 4 Argentina players, well, we've got to make an example of them.
Yeah, but there's no love lost there, right? So
No.
in one sense, you can understand.
It's like
Which players was it? I mean,
Martinez, Lo Celso, Romero, and Escudia or something like that.
Yeah.
Escudia. I'd only heard of 2 of them. So
Yeah, I wasn't overly familiar with all 4 of them either, but I was like, just absolutely bizarre situation. I don't think FIFA's going to look kindly on this because, as you know, with FIFA, they don't like government interference, at least publicly. So
there is. I saw somewhere else on Twitter that they said that the Visa or whatever, they knew about this about 2 days ago.
yeah,
And they even went to the hotel yesterday.
maybe it was just a brainstorming session at work. How can we make ourselves more relevant and have better recognition? I know, let's storm a football match.
let's stop the national team from
Yeah. I mean, I don't mind pitch invasions, and it ties in nicely with our wavelength theme for this month of Football Violence Awareness Month. There's lots of pitch invasions in the old days for that, and that's how we're going to end the show. We've had a very European feel with our music, with an Italian band kicking off part 2, Scottish rapper kicking off part 3, and for our wavelength song this episode, we're going to Spain. A band called Non Serviam, which means no servitude in English. And they're a Spanish band from Madrid. And this is a song from the 1999 album Orgullo Obrero, which means worker pride. And this is Hooligans.
Escucha la voz de la afición como retumba el campo. Cientos de chavales contra los rebeldes degenerados. Una grada que dan color, violencia y atención. El buen fútbol, el alcohol no está en la diversión. Y si eres tu lucha, esta sagrada, nunca serás bienvenido aquí. Y si eres tu lucha, esta sagrada, nunca serás bienvenido aquí. Escucha las voces de la afición como retumba el campo. Cientos de chavales contra los rebeldes degenerados. Una grada que dan color, violencia y atención. El buen fútbol y el alcohol no está en la diversión. Y si eres tu lucha, esta sagrada, nunca serás bienvenido aquí. Y si eres tu lucha, esta sagrada, nunca serás bienvenido aquí.
Spanish band Non Serviam there with a song from 1999, Hooligans. Continuing Football Violence Awareness Month, get your ribbons, wear your little bands on your wrists, all that kind of stuff. But that is pretty much it for this episode of the AFTN Soccer Show. So just before we go, let everyone know where they can find you online and anything that you've learned this week, Gideon.
Well, I haven't learned a whole lot because that's how it usually goes on these shows. But
Young people today.
I'm just kidding. I've enjoyed it, and you can find me at _ Gideon Hill on the Twitter sphere.
Why would you want to? And Zach, where can folk find you online? Anything that you've learned this week?
For me, you find me on Twitter at Zachary AM, and I found out that Gideon's mom's name is Nancy.
Yeah, it's good to know that. Steve, anything that you've learned this week?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Whitecaps Beat. And one thing I learned this week is it's sometimes you want to get pulled off at halftime, and sometimes you don't. It all depends on how weak your groin is.
It's like before the Whitecaps game this week, Caitlin gave me a turkey hand pie from Save On Foods. Delicious. Highly recommended. I'm Michael McCall. You can find me on Twitter at AFTN Canada. You can read our stuff away from the numbers, aftn.ca. Give us a follow on YouTube, youtube.com/AFTN Canada, and on Instagram at AFTN Soccer. And what I've learned is AEW is magnificent. I didn't really learn that. I knew that already. Check them out if you haven't already. But that is it for this week's show. We'll be back with another one soon. Until then, thanks for listening. Take care. Enjoy your turkey hand pies. And mon their caps.
Going to your first match is an experience you never forget. The atmosphere of what's going on around the pitch looks beautiful, and you always look and go, wow, I'd love to play here one day. If you get the bug, it's going to stay with you for life.
10 minutes left. Yeah, but there's still some time. It's not the final score. We need more than the numbers we're given. Show us you live and breathe the game. You're more than a name. That's what we came for. We can bring you more than the score. Every story, let's take this thing off of the field into the real world, away from the numbers, away from the numbers.
AFTN